From a public and pointless beef with Canelo Alvarez to El Bandera Roja testing positive for substances, here's why fighters hate David Benavidez. So now that his feud with Canelo Alvarez has gone public, the boxing superstar has been at the center of media attention these days. It's no wonder he's called the red flag. I mean, with the way he's been going around talking about his rival, Alvarez, it makes sense. It's downright embarrassing how he talked to the guy with so much disrespect. And our Mexican boxer's been really confused about it too. Now, Alvarez says he doesn't know where all the hatred comes from, and genuinely has no idea why Benavidez has been so vocal about it. According to rumors, it has to do with the fight PBS had booked between the pair, which, as you know, Alvarez rejected. It was a sweet deal with $100 million being offered to Canelo to fight both, but why would Alvarez reject what would have probably been an easy $100 million? According to Cinnamon himself, it's because he doesn't fight fellow Mexicans. But the fans aren't too sure about that. They think that it's really because Benavidez has been running his mouth so much lately. Not just that, but even Benavidez Sr. has been in on the ribbing, and the two have made some sort of dream team to trash on Alvarez. David's father has said that he considers Canelo done as a fighter and just worn out. Like father, like son, huh? With stuff like this, it's no wonder so many fighters hate David Benavidez. An offshoot of his beef with Canelo was definitely his back and forth with Caleb Plant. I mean, a bit of healthy beef between two fighters has always been good for pay-per-view sales before an important event, but this seems to go way deeper than that. It goes way back to a clash between Caleb, David, and Canelo Alvarez. In 2018, the three of them had been training in a gym, and out of nowhere, their locker room talk got out of hand. The next thing you know, Caleb Plant was sucker-punching Alvarez in the face, and Benavidez jumped into the fray. Now, all three guys have their own different versions of the story, with Benavidez claiming that Plant was literally hiding behind his trainer. But the truth is, while Caleb and Canelo came out of that fight with a stronger bond than before, Benavidez came out of it with two new enemies. As the years went on, the two exchanged these snarky comments over social media, and what started as just banter developed into much more. David's real problem started up when his trainer made some offensive comments about Plant's late daughter, which was a line no one should have crossed. Because after that, it felt as if Caleb was on a mission to give back punch for punch with Benavidez. When asked what he thought about the entire situation, Plant was pretty diplomatic about it. He said that boxing was his life, and anyone who stood between that was going to become public enemy number one. Obviously, this isn't where the feud ends. No, it gets much juicier than that. Back in January 2023, both Benavidez and Plant were gearing up for their much-awaited fight in March. You could already tell that a lot of pent-up aggression was going to be let loose in the ring. Well, in the pre-show press conference in February, Plant really went at Benavidez, screaming insults in his face. He really got into his head, hurling insults at his father and yelling, "You're not scary to me," right at his face. Guess it was retaliation for the barbs Benavidez's trainer had made against Caleb's daughter and wife. Both parties had to be physically separated at the beginning, during, and after the end of the press conference. And if that wasn't proof enough that Plant really has it out for Benavidez, let's take a look at what he did with the boxer's website. Apparently, Sweet Hands Plant sneakily bought out a website URL under Benavidez's name, and in a hilarious move, made it into a storefront for his own merch. Fans definitely found it to be as entertaining as Caleb intended and loved the bit of shade he threw at David. In the feud, it may look like Caleb's doubling down on the Phoenix-born boxer, but the hatred runs really deep between the two. Benavidez has gone on the record saying he put Caleb in the hospital before their match on March 25th, 2023. His poor decisions, in and out of the ring, go way back to 2018 even, and his sloppiness is just another reason fellow fighters hate him so much. Back in May 2018, David actually signed on with the promotional company Top Rank, which was under Bob Arum at the time. This was after he had thrown his previous company, Samson Boxing, overboard, but hadn't really shaken the tail. The CEO of Samson Boxing was so mad that Benavidez went behind him to make this decision, that he issued a statement saying the red flag was still under contract with him for another 3 years, till 2021, and threatened to sue every single party involved in the new deal. And boy, was that not an empty threat. He ended up not only suing Top Rank for stealing away his client, but the CEO Bob Arum personally as well. And Billy Keane, the guy who brokered the deal, also got stuck in the crossfire and went down with him. All eyes were on the superstar boxer they were all fighting over for causing these legal disputes and for letting the blame game continue. To his credit, Benavidez calmly went to Top Rank and returned the $250,000 signing bonus as a cashier's check. and formally withdrew from their company. But fighters and fans alike aren't going to forget that Benavidez allowed things to get dirty and let himself be convinced by Keen's sweet words who's been stealing away so many boxers for years, according to Sampson, including Sergio Martinez. And if this wasn't enough drama, guess who immediately went and landed himself right in the middle of a drug scandal? Our youngest middleweight title holder probably let the fame get to his head a little bit. And he got cocky. On the 27th of August in 2018, the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association had taken a random urine sample from Benavidez. This was because of the WBC's new clean boxing program, where they wanted to make sure that their top fighters and title holders were drug-free. But not this title holder, though. That same year, on September 30th, the urine sample came back positive for a substance called benzoylecgonine, which is actually one of the key components found in cocaine. Looks like someone'd been caught with his hand in the candy jar. Of course, it wasn't long before the WBC started their investigation and got far enough to decide a punishment for their boxing prodigy. He was slammed with a 4-month suspension, and they stripped off his title, which has got to hurt more, considering he was the youngest title holder at the time.
I mean, I made a mistake already, you know what I mean? But I'm already back on the track where I'm supposed to be, you know, and I'm handling things like I'm supposed to handle them, you know what I mean? That's why I'm not really nervous about anything.
A fight with Anthony Dirrell to defend his belt for the second time had already been in the works when this news broke out. But with him out of the ring from December 2018 to March 2019, the fight never ended up happening. I mean, there was no more title to defend either, and in the end, Benavidez tried to make amends publicly. He put up a statement on Twitter with a picture of himself holding up his hard-won belt, where he said he'd like to sincerely apologize for his actions and that he's embarrassed it got this far. Another heartfelt apology was made to his fans, whom he acknowledged wouldn't see him the same way again. He tweeted that he'd made a mistake and admitted that he was being young and foolish. An official statement was also released from Sampson Boxing, which was representing the champ at the time. The CEO himself did a press conference and pleaded with the public to hear him out. He said to ESPN that he was proud of the youngster for realizing and acknowledging his mistake. It was his second mistake of the year, but the promotional whiz was confident that he could guide a young boxer to a better path. Well, at least a better public path. He had been confident that the match against Dirrell would have happened by December 2018, but even he didn't imagine that the punishment would be so harsh. Regardless of what ended up happening, Sampson still assured the public that the young boxer would keep on training. But it's this kind of irresponsible behavior, though, that has fighters hating on David Benavidez. So from the cocaine scandal that shook the boxing world to the really public and pointless beef with Canelo Alvarez. That was all for why fighters hate David Benavidez.